Good afternoon, everybody. Honorable guest speaker of the afternoon, respected Dr. D. Madhavan Nair, Chairman ISRO and Secretary Department of Space. Honorable Chairman of this memorial lecture meeting, Professor H.B. Dikshit, Honorable Vice Chancellor Indira Gandhi National Open University, Mrs. Pramila Ram Reddy, distinguished guests, faculty and staff of IGNOU at its various centers, ladies and gentlemen. We have this afternoon gathered here on the solemn occasion of 9th Annual Professor G. Ram Reddy Memorial Lecture to pay tributes to the pioneer of distance education in India and founder, Vice Chancellor of Indira Gandhi National Open University, late Professor G. Ram Reddy. It is therefore appropriate that before we start the proceedings, we garland the portrait of late Professor G. Ram Reddy as a token of our homage to him. I therefore request Honorable Vice Chancellor and Honorable Dr. G. Madhavan Nair to please light the lamp and garland the portrait of Professor G. Ram Reddy. Sir. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you on behalf of the Vice Chancellor, staff of the Indira Gandhi National Open University, and the organizing committee to welcome you and all those who have assembled at the IGNOU centers across the country and also at the state open universities linked by the teleconferencing network to this 9th annual Dr. G. Ram Reddy Memorial Lecture. It's a matter of great honor and pleasure for us that Dr. G. Madhavan Nair, Chairman ISRO and Secretary Department of Space, very kindly acceded to our request to deliver this important lecture and has come from Bangalore especially for that purpose. Sir, we extend you a very hearty welcome and express our gratitude for your kind presence. Mrs. Pramila Ram Reddy, wife of late Professor G. Ram Reddy, has also come from Hyderabad to be present in this memorial lecture. Madam, while we cannot make good your personal loss, we are with you in perpetuating the memory of late Professor G. Ram Reddy, and this lecture is for that purpose. Vice Chancellor and staff of the university welcome you wholeheartedly. I also take this opportunity to extend a warm welcome to the distinguished guests who have responded to our invitation and are with us in the studios of EMPC and various regional centers at open universities all over India where this lecture is being telecast live. Annual Professor G. Ram Reddy Memorial Lecture has been instituted by Indira Gandhi National Open University as a tribute to his contributions towards development of distance education and founding of Indira Gandhi National Open University. It is held on 2nd July every year, that is the day of his demise. Needless to say, all his friends and colleagues all over the world firmly remember his inspiring leadership and innovative approach to institution building. Therefore, every year, a distinguished personality is invited to deliver this lecture. It is a matter of great honor for us that this year, Dr. G. Madhavan Nair, Chairman ISRO, has very kindly accepted our request and is with us this afternoon to deliver this important lecture, which is being telecast live all over India. And if Dr. Madhavan Nair permits, we can have few minutes of interactive session also with our regional centers after the lecture is over. He has chosen very important topic for the occasion, that is development of space program and impact of education. Needless to say, distance education in general and Indira Gandhi National Open University in particular are significant users of space program for education. We, sir, once again welcome you and thank you for choosing such an important topic. I will now take this opportunity to request the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Indira Gandhi National Open University, Professor H.P. Dikshit, to pay his tributes to the memory of Professor G. Ram Reddy, introduce the speaker to all of you, and invite him to deliver the memorial lecture. Sir.
Good afternoon, everyone in the studio and at various centers where the signals are being received. Today is a great day of celebration and memory of a great institution builder, Professor G. Ram Reddy. He introduced the open distance learning system in the country by setting up first open university of the country in Andhra Pradesh, which even preceded Indira Gandhi National Open University. I came into his contact when I was Vice Chancellor of Jabalpur University in 1986, and we soon developed a very strong friendship. And one of the first study centers of Indira Gandhi National Open University was set up in the University of Jabalpur way back in 1986 or 87 after an oral discussion between me and Professor Reddy. Since then, we have been collaborating on various platforms, especially in AIU, as member of the executive committee of AIU, and we could realize, at least personally I could see, the great dimension of the personality of Professor Reddy. He has not only founded 2 state open universities, but he has also been very successful vice chancellor of 2 other conventional universities. And beyond that, internationally, almost everywhere where we visit and interact with people, they remember Professor Ram Reddy not only for his contribution to distance education, but also for his personal qualities as a friend and a person who can be always remembered with great reverence. It is in this way that I remember Professor Ram Reddy, and I am particularly happy that Mrs. Reddy could find time this time to visit us and accept our invitation. Madam, you are most welcome amongst us this afternoon. We know that you have also contributed greatly. At least many times when I visited Professor Reddy at his residence, I had the opportunity of getting a cup of coffee from you. Besides this, I would like to mention that Professor Reddy had great accomplishment in terms of distance education internationally. The Commonwealth of Learning, its existence also is own. Because of Professor Reddy, I know how much efforts he made in bringing this institution coming into existence. Sir John Daniel, who was still recently the Assistant Director General of UNESCO and now the Executive Director of COL, has described Professor Reddy in the following words: to have been Vice Chancellor of 3 universities and Chairman of University Grants Commission is a record achievement in higher education without parallel in the world. No one has done more to bring open learning into a place of prominence in the education system, not only in India but also in the world, thus describe Sir John Daniel. Professor Ram Reddy will be remembered for his fine human qualities. He was an open, friendly, approachable, and extremely modest scholar. He brought together personal integrity, vision, and leadership. It is the fitness of things that we celebrate this occasion in terms of lectures by very eminent people. And I have great pleasure in welcoming you, Dr. Nair, to be the 9th speaker among the list of galaxy of scholars who have addressed through this platform. And we look forward to a very nice and useful lecture, particularly the time that we have chosen to invite him and his gracious acceptance to our invitation is very relevant to what is going to happen to education in the country. You might be knowing that EduSet is going to be launched in August 2004, about a month from now. And we are perhaps one of the first to invite him before he launches. And I'm sure after the launch, we will get benefit of the efforts of Dr. Nair and his team in ISRO. ISRO and IGNO have very long tradition of collaboration. Starting from 1992 onwards, we have developed and grown, and our friendship has developed, and we have shared each other's expertise for the cause of the development of education and also for the development of the welfare of the community in the country. Dr. Nair is currently the chairman of Indian Research Space Organization, and he is also chairman of Space Commission and secretary Department of Space, Government of India. During the last 6 months, 3 successful missions were accomplished under his able leadership, namely INSAT-3E, then ResourceSat-1 and PSLV-C5 launch. In addition, a number of application programs, especially in teleeducation and telemedicine, were launched. As a matter of fact, I had an interaction with the people in the government, especially the chief ministers and other of Nagaland, and they hold his interventions in telemedicine with great hope for the future. Dr. Madhavan Nair is a leading technologist in the field of rocket systems and has made significant contributions to development of multi-stage satellite launch vehicles. He led composite teams of scientists and engineers in research and development activities in multidisciplinary areas such as system design, aeronautics, structures, propulsions, avionics, integration, and checkout, etc., for realization of PSLV. Dr. Madhavan Nair, as Chairman of Space Commission, is responsible for chalking out the future plan for space research in this country. The major thrust is in scientific exploration of outer space using the astronaut and Chandrayaan, that is the moon mission, which is a very ambitious mission of our government, apart from implementing schemes for telemedicine, teleeducation, and disaster management support systems, etc. In the international arena, Dr. Madhavan Nair has led the Indian delegation for bilateral cooperation negotiation with many space agencies and countries, especially with Brazil, Israel, France, Russia, etc. His main focus has always been to achieve self-reliance in the high-level arena and area, to bring the benefits of his space technology to national development, especially targeting the needs of the rural and poor sections of society. And this objective is common to ISRO and IGNO. We also, in our act, we have the mandate to take care of the development of the community in general. He is the chairman of the governing board of the UN Center for Space Science and Technology Education in Asia and the Pacific, and chairman of the Program Council of Astronautical Society of India. He is a fellow of the Indian National Academy of Engineering. Among the awards that Sri Madhavan Nair has received, the prominent among them include Om Prakash Bhasin Award, Swadeshi Shastra Puraskar Award, FIE Foundation Award, and Vikram Sarabhai Memorial Gold Medal of the Indian Science Congress. He has received Doctor of Philosophy, honoris causa, from the Punjab Technical University and honorary degree of Doctor of Science from Sri Venkateshwar University. The Government of India conferred the highly coveted award of Padma Bhushan on Dr. Madhavan Nair in the year 1996 in recognition of his service to the country and society. Professor Nair, we are looking forward to your very successful contribution in terms of EduSet and we will take full care of its applications as we have done in the past. We have already requested him, and he has responded very positively that we would like to set up a hub here, for which fortunately the Government of India has agreed to support us financially. So we look forward to very great visions. But even today, from one teleconferencing system that we had, we have grown into 5 of them which are active. And the latest one is the Kisan channel, which is for the agriculture purposes. With these words, I invite Professor Nair to deliver his lecture. Dr. Nair, please.
Professor Dikshit, Professor Narang, Professor Agarwal, Mrs. Pramila Ram Reddy, distinguished guests, and the community of IGNU teams assembled at the remote receiving centers. It's my proud privilege to deliver this 9th annual G. Ramareddy Memorial Lecture. In fact, I consider it as a rare honor. Professor Ramareddy, an educationist of rare distinction, has contributed significantly to bring open learning to a place of prominence in the country. As Professor Dikshit has explained, he was instrumental in establishing the Open University and reaching out to the remotest areas and spreading the light of knowledge. He has occupied various high positions in the academic world in the country, and he has made his impact in the international arena. I pay my tributes to this man of eminence by delivering my lecture highlighting the impact of Indian space program, especially on the education sector. I'm extremely happy that Mrs. Ramareddy has found time to be here, and I pay my respects to you, madam. Of course, as you know, the Indian space program has a very short history. It is nearly 4 decades back, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai has really conceived this program and initiated by having a launch of a small sounding rocket from Tumba Equatorial Rocket Launching Station near Thiruvananthapuram. Even in the early 60s, these great scientists have envisioned that the vision of planet Earth from the space can bring in a lot of benefits to the common man in the country. He also said that we should be second to none in development of high technology and applying them to uplift the quality of life. In fact, today's space program virtually has translated his ideas and dreams into action, and we are proud to say that we have got a set of resources in space through the Indian remote sensing satellites, Indian national satellites for communication, and a launch vehicle system which really meets the total national needs. This program has been evolved through distinctly 3 phases. The initial one was a proof of concept phase lasting up to 1980, and later it was the experimental phase where we tried out various techniques of building spacecraft, trying to develop the application programs and evaluate its efficacy. Then later 90 onwards, it has entered into a operational phase. This 4 decades of space program has really shown that we in India can achieve self-reliance in such a cutting edge of technology with our own institutional manpower. In fact, I must thank the academics in this country for really training the scientists and technologists and shaping them. And in fact, I can proudly say that almost 100% of the people who have working in the space arena today are homegrown. So that shows the talents which is available in the country and the training capability which is available in the country and the dedication and commitment we can achieve. Of course, during the first phase of the program, basically we wanted to see how the space can be used as an alternate technology and its capability to compete with the terrestrial systems. One of the early experiments was with a borrowed satellite from USA. It is called the ATS-6. It is in the 75-76 period, where we have connected something like 2,400 villages through the satellite with the remote receiving stations and voice interaction through the telephone. Thus, we try to establish how the rural populace can be given some literacy program, especially benefiting them in adopting better agricultural practices, sanitation techniques, or the living habits. So this was claimed to be one of the most successful sociological programs in the world at the time, and in fact it has given us a lot of strength. Later, we tried to see how the space-based images can be utilized for the resource assessment in the country. At the time, we did not have our own satellites in the orbit. We have used NASA's NOAA satellite for this purpose, and that images were utilized for analyzing the agriculture, water resource, and so on. Parallelly, we took up the development of the rocket system, which are primarily needed for taking the satellites into orbit. The SLV-3 was the outcome of that. The experiments related to satellite building has resulted in Aryabhata and Bhaskara, which were built, the spacecraft which was built in India, but launched with the Russian launch vehicles. During this phase, the experimental phase, we have established the end-to-end capability in design, development, utilization, and management of space systems and ground segments in an appropriate manner. Of course, we tried to experiment with one of the communication spacecraft, that again a 3-axis stabilized spacecraft with one single transponder, which was built here with our total know-how, and it was carried as a passenger payload in one of the initial developmental flight of Ariane. It's a European launch vehicle. We felt that the spacecraft can do quite a lot in the area of communication, education, meteorology, etc. So with that in mind, we had a team which was sent to USA. They worked with one of the companies, Ford Aerospace Corporation. They have evolved a design, and this Ford Aerospace Corporation has built the INSAT-1 series of satellites, which are really serve the country in the communication, the meteorology, and TV transmission programs. The INSAT has really given us tremendous resource in the 80s in providing the connectivity at a national level. And images from the satellite were used for predicting the cyclones, the cloud movement, rain fall, etc., and really serve the meteorological department as well. Of course, the rocket technology is the most difficult one to harness. We have gone ahead and tried to build our own rocket. The first one was the SLV-3, which used a solid propellant rocket, and it has placed a 40 kilogram spacecraft into near Earth orbit. With that, we entered the Space Club, who have the capability to build the satellites and launch by them, and we are one among the 6 nations in the world. The INSAT and IRS has the space systems which are matured, and then subsequently we have from SLV, we have come to what is called a Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle and the Geostationary Launch Vehicle, which are really the workhorse of today. The launch vehicle technology is very, very complex. It encompasses almost every branch of technology built into it, like propellant, you have got rocket engines, you have got the navigation, communication, etc. Almost every branch of technology finds a place in this thing. So this technology was mastered, and we have today the PSLV and GSLV are the workhorse launch vehicles, which can take something like 1.5 tons into geotransfer orbit and geosynchronous orbit, and nearly almost the same capacity in the polar orbit as well. Today the INSAT system has got something like 137 transponders. They are providing the connectivity in various areas. The communication systems in the major metros are provided. The telephone connectivity to the remote areas are provided with this system. The VSAT, it is one of the fast expanding system being served the business community. Then, of course, the applications like telemedicine, teleeducation, disaster management, etc., which I will be touching upon after some time. The operational remote sensing satellite from the Aryabhata and Bhaskara, we had the IRS-1A and 1B, which were the Earth observation systems which it designed and built in the country, and they again made use of the launch from Russia. They provided images with something like 75-meter resolution to start with, and today we have got almost 5-meter capability. And later we have gone through with our own series of satellites called the P series, and in that case recent one, the technology experimental satellite, provides images as sharp as 1 meter. That means an object on the Earth to the size of 1 meter can be detected from 800 kilometers above. So this is a world-class technology we have today, and it can serve a lot of applications. The remote sensing program has been a powerful tool for many vital areas of national development. The national resource data observed from space is widely used for assessing the progress of agriculture, water resource, forestry, fishery, meteorology, etc. Monitoring of natural calamities, flood or drought affected areas is another service provided through the remote sensing satellites. The launch vehicle program is being undertaken with a goal to achieve self-reliance in access to space for orbiting, remote sensing satellites as well as the communication satellites. The Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle I just mentioned about some time back. Then of course the GSLV, which really these two launch vehicles are serving the nation needs. The PSLV for the polar satellites and the GSLV for the communication satellites. Next, of course, we have plans to enhance the capacity of the GSLV to almost double its present value. That is from about 2 tons in the geotransfer orbit. We will be going to almost 4 tons. And through that process, we will reduce the cost per kg for launch from the existing figure of around $17,000 to something like less than $10,000. So that way, even today, we are very competitive in the world market. By having the GSLV Mark III developed in about next 5 years' time, we will be the world's least cost providers of service to access to space. The complex technologies related to spacecraft and launch vehicles were developed in the country through dedicated efforts of Indian engineers and scientists in the laboratories and establishments of ISRO. Sophisticated technologies in multidisciplinary areas were developed, and production and fabrication related to many of the subsystems are subcontracted to Indian industries. And several academic institutions are participating with the Indian Space Research Organization in developing cutting edge of technologies in related to spacecrafts or the launch vehicles or applications. For providing the space services to outside world, ISRO has set up a commercial wing which is called Antrix Corporation. This markets specifically the space-based imageries all over the world, and also some of the transponders are being leased to global organizations. Even the country like USA, they make use of the imageries from our Indian satellite. Let me now highlight some of the specific application areas. One such area is the distance education, where the space has really made an impact. This has generated tremendous excitement in both the formal and informal realms of education. As the Vice Chancellor has pointed out, the IGNOU has been one of the first beneficiaries in this. I am happy the cooperative work between ISRO and IGNOU has really fructified, and it is serving the nation well. Of course, the starting of all this was the SITE program, which I highlighted earlier in the 75 and 76. We had connected more than 2,400 primary schools in remote villages, and not only that, it provided education at the school level, it provided adult literacy, and also it has contributed to training more than 50,000 teachers in supplementing the curriculum in the primary as well as secondary education areas. Later in 96, under the Jabua Development Communication Project, 150 receive terminals at remote villages in Madhya Pradesh were provided with the talkback facility, and this has proven to be one of the very powerful experiment in providing the adult literacy program to tribal areas, and also to bring in an awareness about having a better quality of life and how to improve their income levels and skill levels, etc. And this has given us strength, and in fact more than 1,062 villages are connected, and all service is now handed over to the state government for operating it. Then later, of course, we had We have established the training and development communication channel programs which are broadcast for education and training purposes, targeting the audience at various levels. These efforts by various agencies in the state and the central government establishments, open universities, and ISRO have succeeded in improving the quality of education to a great extent. But the problems at the national levels are quite large. Today, as you know, that more than 30% of the people, especially who are dwelling in the villages and other areas, they are illiterate. And also the dropouts from the schools are very high. In fact, the estimates show that in the 10th five-year plan, we will have an addition of something like 6.9 million students. And if we have to meet the requirements of all this, we have to provide something like 35,000 new schools. And of course, this is there's a large resources are required, and there is a dearth or the shortage of school teachers as well. And then again, there is a question of quite a lot of people, they don't even come up to the SSC level. More than 87% of the people in the rural areas, they drop out, and then that again is due to lack of their understanding or familiarity with such subjects like science or mathematics. So this calls for a concerted effort how we can contribute to the education at the rural areas. The great majority of the people who are living in the villages, they really have difficulty in accessing the high quality education. On the other hand, it's also difficult and expensive to set up elaborate facilities in the villages and rural areas. There is a serious shortage of both infrastructure and human resource for teaching in the education sector throughout the country. The distance education can overcome this limitation of inaccessible areas, economic status, gender divide, and age difference, and solve many of the associated problems. Satellite communication can help in establishing the backbone required for spreading the education to remote regions and achieve universal access to knowledge. The distance education has come a long way in India, starting with the postal correspondence courses as a mode of delivery. The postal correspondence courses are still doing well. However, today they are supplemented and enhanced by the inclusion of electronic media and the satellite-based communication. One-way television and radio communication for distance learning has been improved by the introduction of the two-way interactive audio as well as video communication channels. The digital connectivity to the remote area is an important element for this, and the satellite communication provides the means for reaching the farthest and the remotest places in the country. At present, 5 transponders of the INSAT system are carrying educational programs: the Jnana Darshan, the TDCC program, the AppNet, the Mana TV, EarNet. These are some of the examples and which meet the requirements of the education, the pilot project. And we have the feedback that these systems are really serving well. Considering the growth and demand for the satellite connectivity for the education, ISRO has conceived the EduSat project, through which a full capacity of a geostationary spacecraft will be committed to meet the demands of the distance education. As Vice Chancellor has pointed out, this is going to be one of the powerful source in orbit, and it is going to enrich the service in the education sector. It will meet the challenge of providing the number of connections as well as the digital quality connections, which will facilitate effective teacher training, curriculum-based teaching in several regional languages, and also provide access to quality resource persons, especially in the higher and professional education. It is expected to strengthen the distance education efforts initiated by various agencies and take education to all parts of the country and provide access to new technologies. The EduSat, the first satellite of this kind, is expected to go up in next few months, and the preparations are on at Sriharikota. The satellite is configured with Ku-band transponders on board. They will provide the local beams covering the 5 regions of the country, and also a global coverage for the entire country as a whole. Both the extended C-band and Ku-band transponders are provided on board this. The concept of using the multicasting and interactive multimedias of delivery will be experimented in this. In fact, today you are seeing that the programs are transmitted one way, it is received at the other end, and of course it has got a good impact by having the visual delivery. But at the same time, the interaction quite often is limited by voice. Just a few people can ask question. But we are trying to see, by adopting proper bandwidth compression techniques, we can go in for a video interaction. Virtually, the student at the farthest end, if he raises a hand to ask a question, the teacher should be able to observe and respond to it. So that's our target in the long run. We are hopeful that this will be able to come through. In fact, recently we have done a similar experiment at Mada Abradhanamayi Vishwavidyapeetham at Coimbatore. Their main center is at Coimbatore. They have the institutions at Cochin and near Koilon, and then of course Bangalore. All these 4 places we have provided the effective video interactive connectivity, and in fact the quality was extremely good, and we were able to try out the interactive classrooms. But of course the resource required is slightly more than what we will spend up for a receive-only terminal or a talkback terminal. So we have to invest on it. Of course, this what we are expecting is through this, the shortage of teachers, especially in the higher end of the spectrum, like engineering or medical, or in the areas of science or mathematics, it can be overcome to a great extent. Instead of a teacher delivering to a class to something like a batch of 50 students, we can multiply at least 100 times, taking into account the regional features and the type of linguistic characteristics, etc. So if you multiply 100, straight away we are reaching to a few thousand students at a time, the same class. And that's tremendously going to improve the quality of education in all sectors. And also it can go towards training, providing skilled training to the artisans. The practical experiments need be conducted at one place, and it can be viewed by the students who are at the farther end, and they can absorb these techniques in a much faster way. Then of course the adult literacy, one has to target this audience in a different way. Perhaps you cannot deliver these programs during the normal course of the day. It has to be in the evening hours, preferably, through which very innovative ways of bringing the basic elementary knowledge of reading and writing can be brought to them, and through that they can be enthused to absorb a little bit more knowledge in their course. And in fact, some experiments are being conducted in Kerala. I was told even women in the age group of 40 to 50, they were illiterate to start with. They have been trained up to the level of even using computers through this program. Thus, the potentials of tele-educations are very high. The spacecraft, the terminal configuration, the display unit, and the software which is required for this dissemination of information, they are well within our reach. Integrating all this and the development of the application software are attempted through these pilot projects. But a major challenge will be the content generation. One of the primary modes is to capture the class, as I mentioned, by eminent teachers in the live mode. In fact, after the first set of experiments which is conducted in Karnataka, we have reconfigured our system. Today, for example, I think I am tied to this place, but the teacher or professor won't like to do that. He would like to go to the blackboard, write something and explain and things like that. So we are trying to put a little bit more versatility in the studio equipment, and that too a low-cost studio equipment. So you don't need any operators or any special skill person for doing this. They will capture the lecture as delivered, and maybe if you want a slightly bit more sophistication, you can use a multi-point your PowerPoint projection, or on a tablet you can scribble, and that can be beamed also. So that type of experiments were being conducted, and I'm happy to say that one such system is operational today in Karnataka. The Visvesvaraya Technical University is being connected to 100 engineering colleges, and that program has really taken off. Further, we are trying to do at Maharashtra, the YB Chavan, the Open University, and then of course the Bhopal also, the engineering colleges are being tried out. And in Kerala, the medical colleges are going to be linked to this network. The GSAT-3 will, as I mentioned earlier, it will provide about 6 transponder capability. In each transponder, in the pilot phase, we want to put at least about 100 to 200 such virtual classrooms. So that way, we will have more than 1,000 classrooms within a year or so generated of this kind, by which a very intense interactive mode of communication can be established. The third phase of the EduSat network will be covering the entire nation. It's a huge task. This is where I think we want to have the participation by the education institutions, the state educational departments, the schools, and other teaching experts. they have to pitch in a big way. First of all, the infrastructure creation itself will take a few thousand crores. In addition, a large workforce is required to see these contents are generated and delivered in a timely manner to reach the needy. In conclusion, may I say that the space efforts in India have evolved over a period of time, opening up new opportunities and innovative possibilities to achieve economic growth and national development. Space-based distance education is one such opportunity towards national development. ISRO has taken the initiative to provide the dedicated space infrastructure to enable a large-scale connectivity from leading institutions to remote educational institutions. Generating the content will need the support of educational institutions, central ministries and the state governments. The proper synergy among these concerned agencies would revolutionize the educational system of this developing nation like India. I am happy to join hands with IGNOU in contributing to improve the quality of education in the country. May I thank IGNOU for giving me this opportunity and wish IGNOU all the very best in the years to come in its yeoman service in the vital field of education, which is truly the backbone of our nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nair, for a very comprehensive, informative and encouraging lecture. We are definitely looking forward for the day when you will provide us the facilities for two-way video conferencing. But till that time, we have to go with two-way audio and one-way video. And I'm sure that you will bear with us for another 10-15 minutes when you will be listening to the questions without seeing the faces of the people who are going to ask these questions. I think with that, do I have the permission of the chair that those who are at the regional centers or open universities, or of course in the studio, if they so like, ask a few pointed questions. And the time is very short, so I'll therefore request all that please make your questions sharp and short. We have already received some faxes from certain regional centers complimenting the lecture which you were delivering, because they were sending faxes right at that time. Sir. Yes, please carry on. Calcutta, carry on.
Namaskar, this is Dr. Ghosh from Kolkata. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Madhavan Nair for his inspiring talk. In fact, we have two eminent scientists among us, among the audience. Dr. G.P. Dash, who had been an eminent scientist at Bhabha Atomic Research Center, who has recently joined as a professor of material science at Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science, is with us. And Dr. Parthasarathi Chakraborty, the principal scientist of West Bengal State Council of Science and Education, is also with us. Dr. Dash wants to speak to Professor Nair.
Yeah, I would like to ask Professor Nair about how EduSat network is being planned to be used for specifically for the purpose of experimental demonstration. As we all know, the physical, chemical, biological as well as engineering sciences, they depend very much on the effectiveness of the experimental demonstration to the students, and how it can be done in an interactive mode, or what is the plan. Can you please throw some light on it?
Shillong, in case you are online, you can also put on your questions so that these can be answered simultaneously. Shillong, if you are online, you can put on your question, please.
I'm A.S. Guha speaking from Shillong.
Yes, please.
Sir, we enjoyed your talk immensely, but out of a matter of curiosity, we would like to ask a question. The question is, how can space applications bring the traditional and non-traditional systems of education on a common footing? That is my question. Thank you. Over.
Sir, please.
Okay, let me try to answer these two questions. Dr. Das, I think you were asking about how the experiments, the science experiments especially, can be transmitted over this link. Yes, in fact, this has been one of the issues we have been addressing very carefully. And I believe that the experiment demonstration can be done in a well-equipped science lab. It can be even in a college or in a school which is having these provisions. And through this video link, it can be transmitted live to other schools. Of course, if the other schools also have got the equipments or the devices which is required for parallelly doing this experiment, they can follow. Otherwise, at least they have an opportunity to witness this. In fact, also I have seen that recently, using the multimedia, one can bring in a lot of animation techniques by which the experiments can be virtually shown on the screen itself. So this could be another mode of delivery of providing this. Of course, the subjects like biology or zoology, etc., definitely can be handled. One can have the camera right on top of the table by which you can pick these images and transmit to the students at the farthest end. And the students will have to absorb this and ask the questions back to the person who is demonstrating this. Coming to the formal and traditional mode of education, I am not an expert in this, but still I believe it must be related to the formal way is having a classroom and then transmitting it. The old tradition, perhaps sitting around the trees and then the Guruji trying to pass on his whatever knowledge he has with him. Perhaps one can try. We can have this receive interactive terminal installed at a common place in the village, and villagers can be assembled around that, and that can be one way of tackling it. In fact, our Jabua program, we did that. The village panchayats were provided with this, and the people will come there about 6:30 or 7 o'clock. We will show them some dance or some local programs to start with. Along with that, we will put a little bit of knowledge bits and pieces also. So definitely, it all depends on the educational experts to conceive such ideas and implement. Thank you.
Bangalore, in case you are online, you can ask your questions. Bangalore. Sir, in the meantime, we have received few questions on fax. This one
is coming.
Yes, please, Bangalore, come on.
Details. We have one query, that is, all the developments probably will lead to a system what other countries have developed, like virtual university. Like IGNO is already started some courses through virtual mode. And the second thing is, even the traditional education system, they can use these space technologies and they can mix both distance education, open learning and traditional systems. Please, we would like to have your comments on this. Over. Thank you.
Yes, I think ultimately it can lead to. But at the moment, I think what we can think of is such tele-education can be supplementing the basic curriculum. So definitely the teacher-student relationship very important. The schools and colleges, definitely they should have the formal course. But highly specialized subjects or special courses, one can use the telemedium very effectively. And of course, in fact, we can go one step further. Some of these classrooms of a special nature can be provided in the recorded medium, and the students can access to the same network offline to listen once again or practice some question answer session, etc. So definitely it cannot be a standalone system replacing the existing teaching medium, but it has to be a supplementing one. There is a question on the integrity and connectivity are the two crucial elements required for building and supporting an effective educational system at the national level. We would like to know how EduSat is going to facilitate this. Yes, I mentioned that now, of course, through the metros, you have the fiber optic cables are available. But again, the bandwidth available when it is shared, it becomes quite expensive and small. But whereas through the satellite medium, we can reach almost every part of the country, and appropriate bandwidth and connectivity can be provided at a very low cost. And then, of course, the interactivity, as I mentioned, by having the virtual classroom and video, audio interaction once you provide, it is as good as sitting in front of the professor or the teacher who is delivering the lectures. So thus, I believe that the EduSat program with its supporting ground segment can really do this job.
Raipur, you can have your turn. Raipur, it is your turn. You can ask the question.
Good afternoon, sir. In fact, on behalf of IGNO Regional Center at Raipur, we congratulate on the eve of this 9th Professor G. Ramareddy Memorial Lecture. It was really very enlightening. from Dr. Madhavan Nair, we would like to know that today we are beaming signals on this Gyan Darshan and all, which are not accessible to a very common man because he doesn't have the cable network facility and all. Do you foresee any such kind of mechanism so that it is beamed on the same wavelength, or it can be received by a common man, as everyone is receiving Doordarshan 1, which is a very common channel, and without the work of this cable network, we can receive that kind of programs. On the same lines, can we have this educational channel also? Thank you very much, sir.
Jammu, we have received facts from your side, but the print is not clear, so you can ask your question on phone if you so feel. Sir, in the meantime, you can take a Raipur question.
Yeah, but now let me try to see how we can access with a low cost to many people. One, of course, the interactive classrooms are going to be slightly expensive, and perhaps it can, the normal colleges or higher secondary schools can perhaps afford it. But when it comes to the primary schools or the villages, the Gram Panchayats, if you talk about, we are trying to develop with Bharat Electronics a low cost receive only terminal. So that way, these programs, when it is happening, it can be received in real time, and it will not cost more than a few thousand rupees over the normal conventional television sets. So this, I hope, in the course of next few months, we should be able to bring it up and deploy at large number of places.
That's very encouraging. Yes, Madam Madhuri.
So does the DTH at any time envisage, does the EduSat at any time envisage a DTH application? Because if DTH was possible, then it could reach people wherever there is a television home.
Yes, you said it correctly. I think as what we are having today, the televisions are reaching almost every place, and we have the education programs riding on that. But I don't know what is the extent of viewership. The capturing the audience becomes difficult. So that's why I think probably that's the reason we have gone for a separate network, which is totally dedicated for education purpose, and that availability during the normal school and college working hours will be assured. So it is actually, if you the receive only terminal, it is more like the DTH only. But the moment you provide interaction, the DTH cannot give. Either talk back or the video, whichever you want to give.
Yes. Still we have 2-3 minutes, so if there's any other question. For those who have not our new phone numbers at regional centers, let me remind that the new phone number is 2953 2844, and toll free number is 1600112345. Sir, this is a question on facts from Jammu. Formal education appears to be losing relevance and quality in the context of expansion of knowledge economy. How do you react to this critical issue? I don't know whether it's relevant to Sir.
I was just asking one question that once we are talking about this, either what Madhulika said, DTH, you are saying that we have receive only stations. Can they be provided with the talkback facilities? Only today I heard that we can talk to US at the cost of 1 rupee and 60 paisa per minute. When that type of satellite is going ahead, are we thinking in terms of, along with providing receive-only facilities, to provide them this talkback facility at a very cheaper rate so that people can interact wherever they are?
Well, I think wherever, in fact, this US call, what you are mentioning, yes, that is through the already existing telephone lines. If the schools or colleges have got a telephone line, right now what you are doing that, through the telephone line you can have the interaction. Well, rate is fixed by the companies, how much profit or how much they want to make a cut out of it. But what we are trying to talk is something different. See, suppose like this, a group of people are there, and they will be able to really interact with the teacher. The teacher also has got that physical contact. In fact, I can give an example what happened in the telemedicine project. The Devi Shetty, Dr. Devi Shetty is a famous cardiologist in Bangalore. He was giving a service to a patient in Siliguri, that is in near Assam, I think. Of course, he knew the native language also. One lady came with her child, and he was having a severe cardiac problem. just she explained all the symptoms, this thing, that thing, etc. And then he was also listening. He was trying to explain to her what follow-up, etc. But at the end of the session, the level of satisfaction what she has got because of that face-to-face contact, that is you cannot achieve by telephone, etc. So that's why we want to see that this virtual classroom serve this purpose. Suppose this what we are transmitting today, suppose all your regional centers have got a video interactive, it is as good as all the people sitting together.
So well, Jammu, you can ask your question. Jammu, in case you are online, you can ask your question.
Yes, hello. I'm calling from Jammu. First of all, we would like to compliment ISRO Chairman Dr. Madhavan Nair for his brilliant exposition of the synergy between the celestial and the terrestrial, between space programs and their impact on the educational scenario. What hitherto has remained inaccessible horizontally will now be available to the deprived, the needy, and the poor, and the motivated learners of the rural via EduSat. Sir, I feel that हम ऊपर उठकर ही इस दुनिया को बेहतर बना सकते हैं और इसमें your contribution is going to be immense. Thank you very much for such a relevant and contemporary talk. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I must thank you for the nice compliment. Yes, it is a national effort. It is not ISRO or myself alone. I have many of the academic institutions who are joining hands with us, and the whole country itself is with us. So we hope in the course of next few years, we should make the education accessible even to the remotest and the poorest of the people.
Srinagar, yes, please come on. Srinagar.
Hello, I'm S. Saunand from IGNO Regional Center at Srinagar. While we all want to compliment Dr. Nair for his thought-provoking and content-rich presentation, we would like to know from him on what potential does he visualizes for remote sensing science education through distance education, since such short-term remote sensing science training programs are being offered by Indian remote sensing agencies throughout the country, and which are some of them are under ISRO. Thank you, and over.
Bhubaneswar, you can ask your question at this moment so that the answers can be timely. Bhubaneswar, please.
Bhubaneswar, we have with us the Vice Chancellor of the University of Culture, Utkal University of Culture. We have people representing the Survey of India and our esteemed ex-colleague Professor Gangadhar Sahu. Here we just wanted to get one information. Sir, everybody is excited, both in ISRO as well as the Open University like IGNO, about EduSat and its launching in the month of August. Now, after its successful launching, we just want to know whether universities like IGNO and other distance mode universities in the country, if they want to play a proactive role in providing distance mode education in other parts of Asia or in Africa, will there be any restrictions? Thank you, and over.
Well, of course, the EduSat beams are covering mostly the Indian continent. So we can service the Indian continent only. But if we want to reach the other places, we have to use the capacities from other transponders. Theoretically, it's possible, and if somebody comes out with a request, we can make arrangements. But normally, hiring of such bandwidth from other satellites is slightly more expensive. So we will have to judiciously use that. Now, coming back to the remote sensing courses, yes, a few universities have already started giving such courses as a part of their curriculum. But a general awareness program or maybe an overall overview of the remote sensing application definitely can be organized through the ISRO centers. There is a Indian Institute of Remote Sensing, IARS at Dehradun, which imparts such education. Also, NRS and SAC also involved in that. We can keep in mind when we are some other universities, we will deliver some specific lectures on this topic. But in this related to this question, I would like to highlight one more concept which you are trying to evolve. We talk about tele-education, telemedicine, that is providing the medical service to the remote areas, and of course the remote sensing application. All these are village centric. So we are trying to see whether we can configure a system in which all these three services can be provided simultaneously. So such a design is just getting evolved, and we hope in about 2 to 3 months it will be implemented as a pilot project in Tamil Nadu along with the Swaminathan Foundation at Madras. With that coming into the local specific information, the space-based images, the analysis as to the suitability of a land, identifying the water target, water resources, water bodies, etc., that can be made linked to the satellite. Then, of course, the villagers, with the help of a health worker or a local doctor, can be put through to major hospitals in the metros. So that way, without traveling to the metros, they can get the expert medical service. Then, of course, the educational program, what you talked about, especially targeting the villages, this also can be conceived. So as a proof of concept, we would like to do it this year. And if it comes successful, maybe within another year, 1,000 such village resource centers we would like to put into operation.
Thank you, sir. I have received these faxes from Hyderabad, Khanna, Shimla, Jammu and Ranchi, where the people have primarily complimented you for such an elaborative lecture. If you so feel, I can thank them on your behalf.
Of course.
I think it is time on the watch, according to our program, where we have to close this interactive section. And I'm sure that the next time Professor Nair is with us, it will be a two-way video and not.
No, I will not come here. I will deliver it from Bangalore itself.
You can afford to do that. Sir, may I take this opportunity to request our esteemed Vice Chancellor, Professor H.P. Dikshit, to present a memento to Dr. Nair as a token of remembrance for this afternoon when he came here. Well, it is time for the convener of the organizing committee, Professor A.K. Agarwal, to propose a vote of thanks in visibility.
I am indeed privileged to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. At the outset, on behalf of IGNOU and Professor H.P. Dikshit, the Vice Chancellor, I profusely thank Dr. Madhavan Nair, Chairman ISRO, for kindly agreeing to deliver the 9th Professor G. Ram Reddy Memorial Lecture. Sir, your excellent presentation has updated all of us on the current developments and big strides made by ISRO on the development of the space program and its impact on education. The country on the whole is proud of you and your organization for the achievements which are comparable with the best in the world. And you, as you already said, that we are one of the 6 countries in the world having the latest and the most modern developments in the field of space technology. We in IGNOU look forward to your continued support to further strengthen the open and distance learning system in the country. And you mentioned Dr. Devi Shetty. Sir, I would like to say here that on 14th July, with the approval of our esteemed Vice Chancellor, we are signing an MOU with the Narayan Hridyalaya for developing a 2-year diploma in cardiology, including the telemedicine part of it. My heartfelt thanks to Mrs. Pramila Ram Reddy for readily agreeing to our request and taking time out to be with us today. Madam, it is a privileged moment. It is a privileged moment for IGNOU, for the IGNOU family, to remember Professor G. Ram Reddy, and your presence here makes us feel even more privileged today. I am grateful to Professor H.P. Dikshit, our esteemed Vice Chancellor, for presiding over this ceremony and constituting a committee with me as a convener to organize this function today. The committee is greatly indebted to you, sir, for your guidance and support. Professor S.C. Garg, our Pro-Vice Chancellor, though not here today, has always been available for helping and guiding the committee in various arrangements. We would like to place on record our sincere thanks to him. My thanks to the senior officials from ISRO, MHRD, and media persons present here for participating in the function. As a convener, I received active support from Professor Narang, Professor Pradeep Sahani, Professor A.R. Khan, Shri V.K. Arora, Director EMPC, Dr. Anju Saigal Gupta, Dr. C.R.K. Murthy, who are the other members of this committee. My sincere thanks to all of them. I would Also like to thank the guests and the staff at the regional centers, the state open universities, and the other organizations viewing this program. My sincere thanks to the directors of the schools, the heads of the divisions, the teachers, academics, and the staff of IGNOU for their participation. My thanks are also due to the officers and the staff of the EMPC, the administration, and the other divisions of IGNOU for their contributions today. In the end, I would like to thank all those whom I might have forgotten to name here, and thank you all once again.
So, sir, with that, we have your permission, Chairman, to declare that session is closed, and you are all requested to join us on a cup of tea outside. Thank you very much, everybody.
Yes,